Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. People say marriage is hard work, but with Vivian it didn't feel that way at first. She was sharp, confident, beautiful, the kind of woman who drew attention without trying. I was the quiet guy most people barely noticed. We met at a friend's game night. She rolled her eyes at my bad jokes, then laughed anyway. That night turned into more. Before long, she was calling me her calm in chaos. Her words, not mine. Vivian had strong moods. She hated being wrong, always had to win an argument, and held grudges like trophies. But I saw it as passion. I told myself that letting things slide made me mature, stronger. In my eyes, I had won the jackpot. She was out of my league, and I knew it. I didn't question the blessings. I should have. The thing is, you don't see the cracks when you're inside the glass. Not until it shatters. Vivian's younger sister, Clara, was getting married. I liked Clara. She was soft-spoken and patient, basically the opposite of Vivian in every way. Her fiancé, Jordan, was a decent guy. A little too obsessed with gym selfies, but all right overall. Anyway, the wedding was set to happen in early September, and Vivian had thrown herself into planning mode like it was her own. Meetings, menus, dress trials. She was all over the place, staying at Clara's house some nights, dragging me to cake tastings I didn't care about. Then, Vivian told me over coffee one afternoon that Clara still hadn't found a photographer. She was frustrated, said every decent one was either overpriced or completely useless. I suggested they keep it simple, but the way she looked at me made it clear that, to her, wedding photos were sacred. I didn't push it. 2 days later, she showed me a photographer's portfolio on Instagram. His name was Vlad. His work had that dramatic golden hour vibe. Moody, posed but not posed. Lots of smiling couples in forests and fields. I thought it looked fine. Vivian thought it was art. He also fit the budget, which helped. So she messaged him. Then they met for a coffee, said she wanted to talk about style and logistics. I remember asking, "You want me to come with you?" She shook her head too fast. "No need. Clara's coming too." But when she came home that evening, she casually mentioned that Clara couldn't make it last minute. "But it went well," she added quickly, hanging her coat. "He's professional." She never brought him up again. It wasn't sudden. It never is. But over the next couple of weeks, something changed in Vivian. The kind of change that's not loud, not obvious, but it sticks to your skin if you're paying attention. She smiled at her phone more. Not laughs, smiles. That soft, private kind of smile. The kind people save for someone who's thinking about them in real time. She kept her phone close now, always face down, always locked. Vivian used to leave her phone anywhere, on the nightstand, on the bathroom counter, even in the fridge once. Now, it never left her hand. She even brought it into the bathroom, like she couldn't risk being away from it for 5 minutes. She also started going out more. Said she had things to handle for the wedding. Errands, appointments, vendor meetings. I didn't question it at first, but the frequency crept up. Some days she was gone for hours with no real explanation, just vague timelines and last-minute stuff. And the sounds. Those low chuckles under her breath when she was sitting at the kitchen table, supposedly checking guest lists or vendor prices. Like someone had whispered a secret joke to her that only she was allowed to hear. "What's funny?" I asked once, my eyes still on the TV. She jumped slightly. "Huh? Oh, nothing. Just a tweet Clara sent." I looked at her, deadpan. "Clara doesn't tweet." She froze, then gave a shrug. Maybe it was a story. Whatever. I didn't push it. Not then. But my chest had already started tightening. The wedding was being held at a vineyard about 45 minutes from the city. A place with fairy lights, long tables, and golden hour dreams. It was the kind of venue that made every couple look like they belonged in a magazine. The night before the wedding, Clara hosted a rehearsal dinner at the same location. Just a small gathering, immediate family, wedding party, and a few vendors. Vivian spent the whole afternoon getting ready, more carefully than she had in a long time. Hair curled, dress tight, perfume I hadn't smelled since our anniversary. Just before we left, she stood in front of the mirror one last time, then picked up her phone and sent a message. Didn't say a word. When we got to the vineyard, I spotted the photographer. Vlad. Tall, clean beard, rolled up sleeves, camera bag over his shoulder like it was part of his body. Vivian waved at him like they were friends. He waved back, and I swear I saw something flash between them. Just a second too long of eye contact. Just a smile a little too personal. They didn't hug. It wasn't that obvious. But something in the way he looked at her. Like he'd seen her in a different light. Not in photos. In private. They didn't talk much during the dinner, at least not when I was nearby. But I caught her glancing in his direction more than once. He'd be adjusting a camera setting, and she'd be watching like he was playing an instrument. When she thought no one noticed, she'd smile. That same phone smile. I leaned over to her at one point, keeping my voice low. "You two seemed pretty comfortable." She didn't look at me. "He's just the photographer, Dave." "Right," I said, even though nothing felt right. I didn't push it, but something had started gnawing at me. Low and quiet, but steady. The day of the wedding came, and the vineyard looked like something out of a dream. Golden sunlight poured over the hills, the flowers were perfect, and everyone was dressed like they belonged in a movie. Clara looked like she'd just stepped out of a bridal magazine. Delicate, glowing, everything you hope a bride to be. Jordan, on the other hand, seemed like he might pass out. He was sweating through his suit before the ceremony even started. Vivian, though. Vivian wore a long emerald green dress that clung to her like it was afraid to let go. It had a slit up one side that went far enough to make people stare, and she didn't seem to mind. I couldn't deny how beautiful she looked, but it was a dangerous kind of beauty. The kind that doesn't belong to anyone, not even the man who married it. I tried to stay out of the way. I wasn't part of the wedding party, just the guy who held his wife's purse sometimes and fetched drinks when she was too busy fussing over centerpiece placements. At the reception, I watched her. Not in a controlling way. I wasn't that guy. But because something felt off. Vivian was laughing too loud, smiling too big, and every now and then, her eyes would float across the room and land on Vlad, the photographer, and he would already be looking at her. Once he lifted his camera, aimed it right at her, and snapped a photo while she wasn't even doing anything, just sipping wine and looking back at him. And she smiled. That same smile I'd seen on her face at home. The one that used to be mine. Something in my stomach tightened. I told myself to chill. Told myself it was just part of the job. Photographers take pictures. Women smile. That's it. But then she disappeared. I didn't notice right away. The music was loud, people were dancing, and I was caught up in conversation with Clara's cousin. But 10-15 minutes passed. I looked around. No Vivian. I scanned the dance floor. Nothing. I checked the table we were sitting at. Empty glass, her clutch still there, but no sign of her. And then I realized Vlad was gone too. That's when I felt it. A different kind of silence inside me. Like something just shifted and wasn't going to shift back. I started checking corners of the venue. The hallway by the bathrooms, the garden near the back, even outside near the catering tents. Nothing. Then I remembered the coat room. It was inside, near the entrance. A quiet little corner of the building where guests had dropped off their jackets earlier. Nobody was in there now. No reason to be. Unless you were hiding. I walked toward it slowly, almost not wanting to know. I wish I hadn't opened that door. But I did. And I saw them. Vivian. Vlad. Her back was against the wall, his face buried in her neck, her hands gripping his shirt. Their clothes were slightly undone, their bodies too close, too familiar. It was happening. Actually happening. And she was lost in it. She didn't see me at first. Neither of them did. That's how far gone they were. I stood there like my soul had just detached from my body. My hands didn't move. My jaw clenched so hard it felt like my teeth would snap. Vivian opened her eyes, mid-breath, mid-moan, and saw me. Her face changed in a flash. Shock. Panic. Then something worse. Annoyance. Like I was the problem for showing up. Like I ruined her moment. I didn't yell. Didn't punch anything. I just turned and walked out, quietly closing the door behind me like I'd walked in on someone using the wrong restroom. I went straight to the bar and poured myself whatever was open. Vodka, I think. Or maybe tequila. I couldn't taste it anyway. My hands shook as I raised the glass. All I could hear in my head was the sound of that door creaking open, over and over again. I didn't cause a scene that night. I didn't drag her out by the wrist or shout in front of guests. I just shut down, went completely quiet. We drove home in silence. I kept my hands steady on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road. Vivian finally spoke halfway home. "Are you going to say something?" I didn't answer. She sighed. "It wasn't what you think." I laughed once bitterly. "Vivian, I literally saw it." A pause. Then, "You've been so distant lately, Dave. So safe. It's like you're always there but never exciting. I don't know. I didn't plan it, it just happened." I gripped the wheel tighter. "You cheated at your sister's wedding. That's not something that just happens." She didn't cry. That's what hit me the hardest. No tears. Just defense. Like she was trying to make me feel bad for being boring. When we got home, I didn't even take off my shoes. I stood in the middle of the living room and said flatly, "Pack your things. Tomorrow, I want you out." Vivian didn't say a word. She just walked upstairs, phone still glued to her hand, and closed the guest room door behind her. That night, I lay on the couch and stared at the ceiling, still trying to process the fact that my marriage had just fallen apart. The next morning, I was up before the sun. I didn't wait for her to come downstairs. I just walked past the guest room, knocked once and said, "Today, I need you gone." She moved slower than I would have liked. Took her time packing, like she didn't really believe it was over. But by noon, she was gone. No hug, no apology, just the soft click of the door closing. The following day, I filed for divorce. I didn't hesitate. I didn't stall. No, let's take a break. No, we can talk about this. Just straight to a lawyer's office, signed my name, and let the papers do the talking. There was no dramatic send-off. No final heart-to-heart. News travels fast, especially in families, and especially with drama like this. I don't know if Clara saw something at the wedding or if someone told her, but a day later, she called me in tears. "I'm so sorry, Dave," she kept saying. "You don't deserve this. You were always so good to her." I thanked her, but my heart was too raw to say much else. Vivian, meanwhile, acted like we'd just had a fight, like this was a bump in the road. She texted me once or twice. "Can we talk?" Or, "Are you really throwing this away?" But I didn't respond. Then the texts from others started pouring in. "Hey man, you okay? I heard what happened. I'm here if you need to talk." Bro, that's rough. You didn't deserve that. Even people I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly knew everything. I became a character in someone else's story. That quiet guy who got cheated on. The nice guy who wasn't exciting enough. I hated that narrative more than the betrayal itself. I started walking every night just to get out of the house. I'd put my hoodie up, headphones in, and just move. Sometimes I'd walk 5 miles without realizing it. Anything to avoid the silence waiting for me at home. Vivian came back 2 days later to grab what was left of her things. I didn't wait around to watch her go. I left the house and didn't come back until well after dark. She texted me later that night. "I know I can't fix this. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I am sorry." I read it once. Didn't reply. There was nothing else to say. In the weeks that followed, I kept my head down, threw myself into work, started waking up earlier, working out harder, eating cleaner, not to prove anything, just to reclaim myself. Vivian stayed quiet, at least for a while. I heard from someone that she and Vlad didn't last long after the wedding. Apparently, he moved cities without saying a word, ghosted her, gone. And no, I didn't feel satisfied when I heard that. I didn't smirk. I didn't feel justice. I just felt nothing. Not because I was numb, but because I had finally reached the other side of it. And then a few weeks later, the text started. At first, it was simple. "Hey." Then, "Can we talk?" And eventually, "I miss you. I made a mistake. Can we try again?" I didn't reply. I'd already made peace with the silence, and I wasn't about to open the door just because she realized it was cold outside. I don't hate her. Not anymore. But I stopped idolizing her too. That's the part no one tells you. It's not the betrayal that ruins you. It's realizing that the person you loved never actually saw you clearly. That's what takes the longest to heal. But I'm healing. Every damn day. Thank you for watching.